distributing kitchenwares to students online, basically putting together a package so when you go to college that you get your first apartment, you need everything to fill out a kitchen. And I had put together this company, and within the first few months completely lost my shirt, lost a ton of money, and it was.
What does Mojo mean to you?
Welcome to CEO Mojo, where we inspire business leaders to get motivated. In our weekly podcast, we talk about the ideas, stories, and lessons of these successful entrepreneurs and how they overcome the challenges that hold them back from getting in touch with their mojo so that you will get motivated. Our host is Joe Apfelbaum, CEO and co-founder of Ajax Union, a digital marketing agency based in Brooklyn. Joe is a certified Google trainer and was featured on Fox Business News, Bloomberg, and The Wall Street Journal. He's a published author, and his thought leadership appears regularly on Forbes, Business Insider, and Entrepreneur.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Apfelbaum.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of CEO Mojo. Today I'd like to introduce my friend and fellow CEO, James Ashcroft. James is the owner of Life Safety Management, a one-stop provider of fire alarms, fire suppression, security systems, and all related services. He is a proud husband and father of 3 amazing kids, and he is a member of Entrepreneurs Organization in South Florida. And he also runs the EO Accelerator program that helps companies get from $250,000 to over $1 million in revenue. What impresses me most about James is his ability to stay focused on his most important goals. He completed multiple Ironman competitions and authored a book entitled The Best Me, From Couch Potato to Long Distance Triathlete, and the discovery of what matters most in life. I'm really excited to begin this interview with James Ashcroft, so let's get this started. Welcome to another amazing episode of CEO Mojo. Today we have James joining with us. James, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Excited to be here.
So, as you might know, James, on this show we speak about the beliefs, the failures, the work ethic, the focus, fears, relationships, and purpose that entrepreneurs need to have in order to create amazing results in their business and in their life. So today I want to start by asking you a question. We've all had beliefs that limited us from growing in the past when we were starting out as entrepreneurs, or even when we were even successful. What are some beliefs that you used to have that would limit you from being successful that you kind of had to overcome in order for you to get to the next level?
Yeah, Joe, I think the biggest thing that held me back was feeling like if I didn't have specific experience in something, that that I wasn't capable of making smart decisions all the time. I kind of felt like I had to have more experience, or I wasn't listening to my gut. And I would really limit myself. I would seek counsel of other people and kind of be slow in my decisions instead of going with my gut and saying, hey, I might not have specific experience in this one area, but my gut's telling me this and I should just go for it. I kind of slowed my decision making down sometimes, and I felt that really held me back. So something that even as I progress in my career now, I try and think, so what? If I have never done this before, it doesn't mean anything. Everyone's got to fall down and get back up. So I kind of accept that now and actually embrace it. And I think that mindset has really shifted for me in a positive direction.
I find that a lot of entrepreneurs have the issue with a similar issue when it comes to delegation, right? So trusting yourself, trusting others, right? So you're not trusting your own intuition or trusting yourself enough to be able to make a decision because, hey, I'm not the biggest expert. And they say that the more that you know, the more you know you don't know, right? The more you know about something. So this belief that if you don't overcome this belief, it could really limit you as you're becoming an expert. Let's say you were an expert in artificial intelligence, right? You went to school, you got a PhD in mathematics or whatever it was. And the more you know about it, the more you realize how much you don't know. So if you wanted to start a business in that industry, it would be very difficult for you to kind of get started if you didn't overcome that belief that many entrepreneurs, such as yourself, that have built companies from scratch to multi-million dollars need to overcome and realize that you don't always have all the answers. Powerful.
No, I mean, if you look at some of the biggest disruptors, right, they enter these fields. I mean, what does Elon Musk really know about space, travel? He didn't really know. He knew, like textbook wise, it was a passion of his, right? But he didn't know anything about building rockets, The Uber guys, what did Travis really know about the taxi business? Not too much, but it was almost like ignorance is bliss. Right? It's like, just go for it and figure out the details later. I mean, if you sit around and think about what it takes to put people on Mars, like every step of the way, it's so overwhelming that Elon Musk would have never have even started, He had the passion, the drive, and said, I'm just going to go for it. He has a massive belief system in himself that no matter what, even with lack of experience, that he's going to come out the other end. So for me, that was just really powerful, kind of wrapping my head around that.
That's so powerful.
We need to embrace our passions, or I shy away from the word passions, but we need to embrace our lack of experience and just take our drive and our intelligence to the next level, put them together, and just put one foot forward the other instead of being bogged down with all these details.
Take your drive and your intelligence and gets to the next level. But sometimes what happens is we hit a brick wall because we fail. And sometimes failure we can kind of overcome because it's a little failure. The failure where you never really even tried so much. So you're like, oh, I'm okay with that failure. If I would have tried harder, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you gave it your all. Sometimes you put all the chips in and then you failed and you fell down and you didn't know if you'd be able to get back up. Have you ever had an experience like that where you failed so miserably that you didn't know if you'd be able to get back up? Can you share us a major failure that you had in your business?
Well, I had a whole business model where I was distributing kitchenwares to students online, basically putting together a package so when you go to college that you get your first apartment, you need everything to fit out a kitchen. And I had put together this company, and within the first few months, completely lost my shit, lost a ton of money. And it was a real powerful learning curve for me. And sure, at the time, I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And it was very painful, especially, losing the time, the money and everything like that. But I think, so I think we've all got those. I don't think I've ever felt like I could never get up again, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just, at the time it's painful, but, I think you just kind of get on with it, right? I come at it the other way, that as I've gotten more experience in putting together projects and launching things, that there is such an element of luck that I think sometimes we forget. There's timing, there's luck, and all these things come into play. So you might have all your ducks in a row, you might have the right product, but still the timing might not be right for the market. You might be too early, or you might not get that tweet that made the difference for the guy, doing a business to the side that all of a sudden blew up because he had someone, an influencer recognize their work and got it in front of more eyeballs. I mean, there's an element of luck there. It's not going to always pan out. You can sit there, put the model together, do all the right things, but if you don't have that lucky break, sometimes it's just not going to pan out. It's time to move on to the next thing.
And some people just are never lucky and they're still successful. And some people, they say they're not lucky, and that's the reason for their lack of success, because they're always trying to play the next scratch off. They're always trying to put $1 in and hope they win the lottery. Right.
And I'm not talking about luck and just like, it's almost like good fortune. Like something comes around at the right thing that you could never have anticipated. That's
opportunity.
An opportunity knocks on your door that you just didn't see coming, and it opens up a huge window of opportunity for you. That's luck.
Yeah. And if your head's in the sand, because you're all crying about your failure, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that opportunity because you're so depressed. So you have to realize that not all of it's up to you. You got to put your best foot forward. You got to do the hard work.
You always have to have your best foot forward and have everything, all your ducks in a row, and just accept that luck play. And that's just what I believe. I believe that luck or let's reframe it a little bit.
Opportunity,
An
fortune.
opportunity that you didn't foresee hits, you better be ready, right? There's this, what's that saying? Is luck favors those who are ready or whatever. It totally does. You need to be ready because there is an element of luck, and a good opportunity, maybe an opportunity that you needed to get to where you want to go hasn't happened. Things could be harder for you. You could fail. There's always those stories about getting that fun. Even if you read the Zappos book, right? Those guys were on the brink of bankruptcy, and then someone comes along, some bank, unforeseen at the midnight hour, and gives them another credit line. Through some introduction or something that wasn't anticipated. So,
and if they weren't ready for it, if they didn't have their documents, I think it was Seneca that said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So this is
exactly. Dude, this great Stoic Seneca says it much better than I do, but I really, really believe in that. So if you believe that deep down, then when you fail, you say, hey, listen, I did my best. Luck didn't favor me. Opportunity didn't favor me. Time to move on to the next thing. Right?
So you have a certain type of work ethic as an entrepreneur. Not only are you kicking ass in your business, not only are you kicking ass in your personal life with your wife and your kids, not only are you kicking ass on the board of Entrepreneurs Organization in South Florida, not only are you running, but you're running Ironmans, and you have this, to run an Ironman, to run a mile for some people is impossible.
Right.
You're running dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, I keep going on, of miles, 1,000 miles a year plus, in order for you to be able to continue to have the work ethic that you have. But you have to have that work ethic. How do you get that work ethic? So many entrepreneurs just don't have it, and you happen to have it. Are you just lucky? What is it?
No, well, I think it's self-awareness, right? I'm 42 years old right now. And really, when I turned 37, 38, I kind of had an awakening about the way that I was living my life wasn't scalable for the long term. It wouldn't take me to where I want to go. So I kind of built what works for me around me, right? So I just know that in order for me to have what I would define as a successful day, it's that I physically challenge myself. I've emotionally been around the right people who make me feel good about myself, who support my dreams. Mentally challenge myself by doing a creative endeavor, or read a new book, or done something to think differently. And then, kind of that spiritual component, had the gratitude for my life. So I've kind of built this system around myself that I try and do those things every day. And I really genuinely found a direct correlation between waking up early, running a few miles, reading mostly nonfiction, but now getting into some really good fiction, and then spending the time, whether it's sitting down to meditate, or even doing minute meditations, 3 seconds of awareness, don't get caught up in all the anxiety and just be present. And it kind of feeds itself, and I start feeling good about myself. I remain focused, and I start tackling projects, the things I have to do. And I'm just really aware of what makes a good day for me.
Wow.
And so it kind of feeds into itself. And listen, man, I'm 42. This has really only been going on for a couple of years. There's many, many years where I was kind of so unaware, shoving food in my face, hanging out with everyone, doing all these stuff. And it really takes sitting down and sometimes looking at the ugly truth about yourself. Joe, I wrote a whole book about, going through, my issues with alcohol and then basically discarding anything in my life that doesn't work for me anymore. And so the work ethic comes this works for me. I want to do more of it. So it becomes easier to do more positive things in your life, And so I don't think I have the greatest work ethic across the board, but I'm really good at what makes me feel good and adds value to my life.
Wow. That's powerful. When you create the structure around it, you're able to you're able to start to appreciate what you do, and you want to do more of it and more of it and more of it.
Look at you, Joe. I mean, I watch your smoothie talks in the morning. You love getting up early. You love having basically an agenda for every morning, right? And then you know that between 5 and 7 or whatever time it is for you, you get this done, you do your smoothie talk, you get your exercise in, you play with your kids, you have a cup of tea, whatever you do before you go to Ajax, that works for you. It doesn't even feel like work. But if someone from the outside didn't know you, they would be like, look at this guy, man. Look at that work ethic this guy has in the morning. You can call it work ethic, or you can just be like, hey, Joe's just a smart guy because he figured out what worked. And it's easy to execute on what feels good and you're good at, right?
Yeah.
And it feeds into then the discussion that you and I have about passion, that Joe's not passionate about waking up early, right? He's just really good at it and he can execute on it, makes himself feel really good. Therefore, he's become passionate about doing that. He didn't have a passion to wake up early in the morning, right?
Yeah, no, I never had a passion for waking up early in the morning.
But now you're passionate. You're passionate about the feeling that waking up early and having that system gives
the happiness, the joy.
Yes,
right.
Yes. That's what passion's about.
It's true. It's true. Passion is about that. But it's hard to tap into your passion when you're not focused. It's hard for you to have true happiness and joy when you're not focused. And so many entrepreneurs are out there and they have so many ideas and they're not focused and they keep chasing opportunity. You seem to figure out how to be able to really focus in on what's most important. How are you able to do that? How are you able to take away all the chatter, all the monkey talk, all the distractions, all the shiny objects? You keep having ideas. I know you, James. You're a pretty smart guy and you're able to focus. How do you do that?
Man, it's just, it's just trial and error, man. It just, honestly, go back to the self-awareness that I am the king of shiny stuff. Right? I really am. But I've gotten much, much better at saying no. And that's a really hard habit to break. I think a lot of times early in our careers, especially as we're kids, coming up, what are we told to do? Try everything, give everything a shot. Go do everything so you can figure out you want. And you kind of create this habit of saying yes. There's an opportunity to be on a board of this company. Yeah, I'll do it. Or, hey, will you have a cup of coffee with me next Tuesday, right in the middle of a deadline? Yeah, I can do that. It's a hard habit to break, to then say, I can't do it because I'm choosing to focus on this, right? So I think as I've aged a bit, I'm getting much more particular with my time and reverse engineering my goals. And if something doesn't, or some relationship including, or some piece of work doesn't get me to where I'm going, then I say, no, I can't do it. I always look at what value is this giving me, and just being more conscious of that.
I once had a coach that said, Joe, if you really want to know what you're saying yes to, you have to know what you're saying no to. And the opposite is true, because you have to be able to go around and limit the amount of things that you do. And sometimes you're like, oh, should I really say no to this? It's such a huge opportunity, or I could really be giving back a lot. But if you're saying yes to something, you are saysaying no to something else.
If I'm sitting here with an important piece of work that I need to get done, let's say I'm writing new SOPs for my business today. I got to do it today because we have a meeting tomorrow, right? And someone calls me up and says, hey, I've got this opportunity. Can we meet for a quick lunch today, right? Instead of thinking about the response to the lunch, flip it and say, am I willing to forego my important work today? Because that's really what you're saying yes or no to. If I say yes to that lunch, I'm saying no to my important work.
And sometimes you have to make that sacrifice. Like, for example, my wife really needed my help yesterday in the house, and I had a very important meeting that if I helped her, I was going to be late for the meeting. Right. And I made a decision that I don't always do, to put my family before my business. I typically put my business before my family. I've done that, many times, and I've missed events and things.
Right.
But this time I decided to put my family first, and I was really stressed out about it because I didn't want to miss that meeting, because it erodes my integrity with my employees. It erodes my word and all that. And in my family, they're family. They'll stick by you if you erode your integrity a little bit. But in business, no, it doesn't work that way. business is business, and with family, but the reality is, no, it's not true. Family is important, and
Yeah,
as long as you communicate, you can make it work. So focus, know what you're saying yes to.
yeah, know what you're saying, is there's always that flip side, right? So you say yes to something, it's taking resources from something else you could be doing. So just be conscious of that, And then I've just found that even explaining to people the truth, saying, listen, I'd love to meet for lunch, but I've just got to focus on what I need to do, really helps,
And telling them what you're focused on too sometimes helps, because they see, wow, that is important, whether it's family or whether it's a really important business meeting or some contribution that you're making or whatever. Say, oh, I'd love to do that, but here are some things that I'm focused on right now. Maybe we can follow up in a month or whatever and talk about that and so
Absolutely.
on. So, but a lot of people have these fears, these really, really deep fears that hold them back from living their potential, for being the entrepreneur that they want to be. What are some of your greatest fear that you had to overcome in order for you to continue to grow, to continue to be the leader that you are?
So I saw this great Gary Vaynerchuk interview. Well, it's a piece of like the Ask Gary V show that he did on the road. And a woman was asking him, saying, I just can't seem to get out of my own way on this. And I really want to do X, but I'm doing Y with my career. And I want to do this, X being this opportunity or new career that she wanted to do. And Gary Vaynerchuk said, who are you afraid of failing? And she just took a step back. And it was really powerful, because I think that was the first time that she became aware that she was scared of failing others. She was afraid of leaving the safety net of what she was doing, the good career, the money, the security. And it turns out that she was afraid of what her parents would think about taking on this new project, her career or whatever. And seeing that unveiling was really, really powerful, So I found a lot of times for me, it's just been fear of failing and disappointing my wife or my family or things like that have really limited, feeling like, oh, here goes James again on another, idea, and he didn't follow through on the last 5. And, so it's really that mindset of and it's not always like, what are you afraid of failing? There might be a deeper, who are you afraid of failing to? You know what I mean?
Who are you afraid of failing to? That fear holds you back.
Right.
From being successful.
A lot of people are doing things, having these careers that they shouldn't be doing, because that's what they think their parents want them to do, or their spouses want them to do.
That's what they think their husband or their wife wants them to do, and so they're afraid to fail, and they limit themselves when they're presented.
We all have that, right? We all want to be rock stars and be successful people, but it might be a circle of friends that you're afraid of, being different, or there's many examples, but it's just, for me, that was really, really powerful. So it's kind of made me more aware of, if I want to do something new, that ask that question. Am I not doing this because I'm afraid of what, my, wife might think, or my friends might think, or my parents might think,
or my partner might think?
My partner might think. He might think I'm nuts for doing this, and so if you're sitting on an idea or a project and it's not executing, might be a business partner is a perfect opportunity. You might have this deep-seated thing, like this business should go in another direction. You're not executing on it. Where's your fear coming from? It's not the market. Everything your gut's telling you is this is the direction, but it might be like,
But sometimes your fears are real. Sometimes your partner does not accept you for who you are. And then eventually what happens is maybe they decide that they no longer want to have a partnership with you because you unveiled yourself.
And that's okay, right? That could work out, right? You could say, hey, listen, at this point, I'm going to discuss with my business partner and say, this is the direction. I really see the business, and I can't continue going down the road we're going. So are you either on board, or do we talk about, me buying you out, and having those conversations? It's that people component, the fear of discussing and being authentic with those people around you, including, I'm glad you brought it up, your business partners. That's a big thing. I know I have personal experience where, I was afraid to have conversations with business partners, and the things went on for a few extra months or a year that they should have gone on. And in the first place, I should have said, you know what, I just need to get over that and have this conversation. And it's never not worked out. Being true to yourself has never not worked out for me.
Talking about relationships, I mean, you kind of alluded to that. You didn't use that word, but talking about your most important relationships, and in your business, you're in the security business, relationships are super important. You seem to figure out how to kind of have those special relationships with your employees, with your partners, with your spouse, and so on. What does a relationship mean to you? Why is it important to build meaningful relationships in business where people say, oh, I want to keep my business and my personal? I'm sure you've had some experience with that. What does a relationship mean to you?
I mean, if you look at a successful business, it's based around people, right? It's people buying into the same vision, buying into, the purpose of the business, and then all those things that we talk about in EO as well, the whys, and everyone coming together. I just feel a deep connection with that. I really do. Like, I want to, when I walk into my business, I want people to feel happy to be there. I'm very in tune with that. If I do that by walking around and talking to people, and you can tell when people are not happy, or they're overworked, or they're tired, or they're confused about what their job function is. So in a business context, I just find that incredibly important. And just not, I guess I'm using Gary Vaynerchuk with two examples today, but I know that he always talks about, the clouds and the dirt, right? The clouds are the big vision of the company. And then the dirt is, for him, the most important thing is the HR component of his business, which is the people, and making sure that everyone's happy, make sure that he's whole with all the employees, or at least whole with the systems and processes that then can filter down and make everyone share the vision. So I really share some of that. I really, really believe in the value of people feeling that they're feeling their self-worth within a business context is hugely important to me. So I put the energy in. At the end of the day, I'm genuinely interested. If you were in my office, Joe, then I would say, how you doing, Joe? And it's not just how's work going. It's like, how are the wife, how are the kids, how are you feeling? Is there anything I can help you with? It's just something that feels natural and I emphasize.
Yesterday, I was at an event with 100 mid-market CEOs, and I was talking with one of the CEOs there, and we were having a conversation about his business, and I was telling him what I do, and he's like, oh, you could really help us, blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, let me turn this conversation around a little bit. Let me do something that probably no other entrepreneur here was really focused on doing. I said, tell me about your family. Are you married? Do you have kids? What's your biggest challenge? What are you doing right now?
Right.
He started telling me about his husband and he has 5 kids and he has this and that and the other thing. And I was like, first of all, I was like blown away by how much he was sharing. But what I was really blown away most is by he completely changed his body language.
Right.
He completely changed his demeanor from being like in business mode to just becoming my friend. And after that, we did a selfie, we connected in a completely different relationship.
Well, it comes back down. So now, now we're talking about business, like getting more business. And if you invest time in prospects like that, like you recognize there might be business opportunity, but took a time out for a second, because what's the most important thing about getting, or the most important reasons for someone doing business with you is that they like and trust you, right?
They know you, they like you, and they trust you. 3 most important things. Yeah.
Right. So what quicker way to get to know somebody than ask them personal questions and get invested in this relationship with them?
And Jeffrey Gitomer says, if you want to make a friend, you have to be friendly.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. Yeah, I mean, what? So if I'm a vendor, right, and Joe's, my client, I'm probably going to get better pricing to Joe if I like him, if I know that Joe has 5 kids at home, his wife, he works hard, and that, with his disposable income, he likes to go fishing in upstate New York or whatever you do, you just have a bigger, broader context, and you want to help people when you know them. I mean, everyone wants to help. I really believe that people help those they like and they trust, and they wouldn't do anything for. I mean, the relationships we build, the foundation is just knowing each other on a deeper level, So I think it all goes hand in hand in business, personal life,
Yeah, and they say that businesses come and go,
Yep.
but relationships last forever.
Absolutely. I mean, I just sold one of my businesses a couple of months ago, and it was quite interesting, like calling some of my vendors I've been doing business with for 12 years. It felt like losing a friend to a degree, because I just knew there would realistically, I'm not going to call these people, but there was such a tight business context and relationship and trust and being there for each other as we built both our businesses, that felt like a bit of a loss,
Yeah.
So just highly recommend, get to know people, on a deeper level, go out to lunch with your vendors or your clients, whatever. And don't just ask the business questions, really get to know people. And I think that business will rain on you.
Business will reign indeed. So let me ask you a question about purpose. You meet entrepreneurs all the time because you're involved with the accelerators and with many, many other business owners. And sometimes you meet an entrepreneur and they tell you they're just doing it for the money. They're just doing it for the money. Right now, I just need money. They're like, you talk about purpose and vision and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, listen, I just need money. I'll do anything for the money. What do you tell an entrepreneur that doesn't really have purpose? How important is purpose in business?
Well, let's be honest. There's a money component, especially in the beginning, right? You got all your eyes on just making money so the business can exist. There is that component, right? But I think the business grows, and as you mature in that business, then that's when the purpose starts kicking in. Is because it's going to be a long road, and unless you have a guiding purpose for doing what you're doing, to say no to the other things in your life that you care about, in order to be balanced, that purpose better be strong. So, I think purpose it gives you that energy to march on for years and years and years. So again, it just comes back to self-awareness, what is my these words, purpose and passion, I think it's what are you doing for the reasons you're doing them? I think you got to be in tune with that, like for me, I enjoy writing and all these things because I have a very strong creative side of me. So my purpose is the reason for me writing is that I need to honor that creative side of me and have an output for that. Otherwise I'm just not a happy person. And I've learned that about myself for the last couple of years, and I've certainly learned there's certain aspects of business that I enjoy and I don't enjoy. That if I'm doing stuff that I don't enjoy, it doesn't really fit into my purpose of why I'm doing business in the first place, which is to be a part of something bigger than myself, and providing employment for people I care about and all these things, So there's definitely room for purpose, but I just think we've also got to be careful about the whole passion, the very esoteric purpose stuff,
Yeah. Can passion create cashin'?
Yeah.
If you want to make it rain, you need to have purpose. You need to have meaning, because you know what? Sometimes your business is not going to give you the money that you're looking for. And if you want to keep going to eventually make the money that you need to make, you need to be excited about what you're doing. So that's very, very powerful.
You get excited about knowing what you enjoy doing in your business, Joe, right? So yes. you have with Ajax, you have a purpose of being there and building this business, right?
Yeah. So
what would your purpose be?
Well, my purpose right now is to create an amazing company with amazing employees and amazing clients, really create an amazing environment, to really stand out and do something that people say, wow, this is really amazing. Anyone could open up a digital marketing agency and learn marketing and do this service. But how do you do it in an environment where the employees are just thrilled about doing it? How do you do it in an environment where they're always learning every single day? How do you do it in an environment where the clients vouch for you and they love you? And even if your competitor comes to them and they say they want to charge them half the price and give them double the service, that they're not going to leave you? How do you do that? How do you have an amazing, profitable company where your margins are 10 times better than your competitors? How do you do that? That is amazing.
Because that comes from who you are as a person, right? That is important to you. That is your purpose in life, is to create an environment where, people like, working for Joe is a really good place for me to be in my life, right? That's important to you. I think that's the part of you, that purpose and what you're doing is a part of you that you're aware about and that you're building upon, right? Yeah. So if that is not important to you and you're just focusing on the money, I think you only go so far, Yeah. But I think you have that purpose that feeds into the path, and as you become better at growing that purpose, you gain the skill sets to execute on it, then you become passionate about that purpose, and that whole cycle starts, right? So yeah, to all the listeners here, it's doing it for the money just never really works out. I mean, you can sit and you can get a job and make the money, but I really don't know anyone who's like super happy just doing stuff for the money, right? You see a lot more people who are happy because they're finding their purpose and doing the work from a deep place. They might not have the money yet, but they are very fulfilled people. And then generally, those super successful people are doing what they want to do, and the money is followed because other people buy into it.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the great insights that I got from you through the many talks that we've had over the past 2 years or so is that if you don't feel passion for something, if you don't feel passion for your business, for what you're doing, become passionate about how you're doing it. Become passionate about how you're doing it, which is so insightful. It's so powerful to entrepreneurs listening to this that may not be excited about doing spray painting or may not be excited about doing this service or being an attorney or being a CPA. Don't be excited about accounting. But how are you doing the accounting? How do you stand out? How does it add value to other people's life? That is a huge insight.
So there's a wonderful book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And his whole thesis is that, and this is really what sparked my thinking, and I completely agree with him, is that we're not really born with these passions, right? We become passionate about the skills that come easy to us after we've achieved mastery, right? So focus on getting really, really good at things and create a value in the marketplace for your skill set. And then when you execute on those skills and you get the validation through building businesses or making great money, you become passionate about executing on those skills more and more, and it's a cycle. So Cal's got this wonderful book that talks about it. He just came out with another book called Deep Work, which basically provides the frame for doing very specific, niched out, and how to execute on becoming so good through a deep work, distraction-free, building skill sets, right? And it's a wonderful concept because if you don't have that passion, and I've talked about in my forum that I'm really not super passionate about anything. But they are, because they're really good at what they do, but they just haven't recognized that really is their passion, is going to those meetings and executing those meetings. And once you kind of grab onto this concept of just being really, really good at things and executing on them, and that you're kind of developing the passion mindset that way, you just find that you're more fulfilled in your daily practice,
Recognizing your passion is super, super important. What is Mojo? One final question. What does Mojo mean to you, James?
Mojo to me, like when I hear you say get motivated, I think it's a combination. It's a spirit, right? It's going all in. It's being self-aware. It's all these things. So I love it when you say get motivated, because it really is. It's like whatever is good for you, embrace it and hug it and do more of it, and that's leading a life full of mojo to me when I hear you say that.
Leading a life full of mojo. Mojo Nation, listening to this, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been another amazing episode with another incredible CEO right here on CEOMojo.com. Thanks for joining us. James, thanks for being on the program.
Anytime, Joe.
Take care, everyone.
You've been listening to another episode of CEO Mojo, your source for amazing motivation. For more episodes that will get you motivated, go to www.ceomojo.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. If you've enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it and let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us. And remember, Mojo Nation, stay motivated.